I've used this exact framework to make thousands of dollars in prop firm payouts, and in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I do it. The biggest mistake that I see traders make, and ones that I've made in the past, are that they're overcomplicating it and not trusting an actual proven system. I'm going to break down two different approaches that I use to pass evaluations and get payouts, and explain when I use each and why. So let's get right into it. All right, guys, so as you know, there's so many different prop firms, right? But the main two that we're going to stick with today in this video, and the two that I've used the most, are Top Step and Lucid. And the reason for this is because they have the most favorable rules to get your first payout. Now, I've taken payouts on both Top Step and Lucid, but Lucid is the one that I've taken the most of my payouts off of. I'm not affiliated with either of these firms, so I'm telling you this based off of my own personal experience without trying to push any sort of affiliate code onto you. So before I break down the exact framework that I use to pass evaluations quick and get payouts, I'm gonna go over each one of these firms and show you why they're so good when you're first starting to trade prop firms. Like I said before, both of these firms have very similar rules, right? So we have 50K accounts, 100K accounts, and 150K accounts. What we're gonna wanna focus on is only the 50K accounts. We wanna focus on the smallest accounts because when you're trying to pass an evaluation, you don't wanna be spending $200 on an account before you've actually created that proof of concept, right? So focus on the smaller accounts. And what's so good about Top Step and Lucid, the accounts are priced very reasonably and they have two different options, okay? The 50K account through Top Step, it's only $85, right? And that's gonna be with the daily loss limit. Without it, I believe it's $90 or $95. I'm gonna go over the two different ways that you can use to pass these accounts fast. Depending on which one you pick, that's gonna determine whether or not you use the daily loss limit or not. So as you can see, if you have the daily loss limit on, the account becomes a little bit cheaper, but you have a daily loss limit of $1,000 as you can see right here. For both Top Step and Lucid, there's a profit target of $3,000 and a consistency target of 50%. Right? We have a maximum loss limit of 2,000, which means when you blow through that 2,000, the account's blown and you have to buy another account. So Top Step allows you to use up to 5 minis or 50 micros, and there's no activation fee. For both Top Step and Lucid, in order to get a payout once you do pass the evaluation, you need 5 winning days of $150 or more. So that doesn't have to be consecutive days. So it doesn't have to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all in order. It can be like 1 winning day, 1 losing day, 2 winning days, 1 losing day. As long as you have 5 winning days, that's when you can request a payout. And that's basically the only rules that Top Step and Lucid have. And that's why they're such good accounts, right? We don't have any trailing drawdown. It's all end of day drawdown for both of these accounts. There's no consistency in the funded stage for either of them. There is a 50% consistency in the eval, but once you become funded, you don't have to worry about that. Now, as you can see, this is Lucid right here. I use the Lucid Flex accounts. They're definitely the best account that you can get to get your first payout and pass evaluations fast. As you can see, the rules are almost identical, right? We have a $3,000 profit target on the 50K account. We have a $2,000 maximum loss limit. Again, when you blow through that, you blow through the account and you have to buy another account. And then we have the option to turn on the daily loss limit or keep it off. Once I go over the two different options you can use to pass an evaluation, that's when you can determine whether or not you want to turn the daily loss limit on or off and make the price a little bit cheaper. 50% consistency rule in the evaluation stage. Lucid only lets you use 4 minis instead of 5. And I'm going to show you in just a second why this might matter. No activation fee and then no consistency rule in funded. So I highly recommend using one of these two firms. Again, it's just the most simple and straightforward rules. You don't have to worry about building up any sort of buffer. Other firms require a minimum 2,000 or 2,100 before you can even request a payout. And then you have to get another minimum 500 on top of that as well. Now, the only other thing you need to know is that Top Step uses Top Step X, which is their own platform. So if you've seen videos of that and you're used to using it, then stick with Top Step. But if you like to use TradingView, you can use Lucid and then link it to TradingView. Top Step and Lucid, very, very reliable firms. They pay out extremely fast and they're just the ones that you want to use. Like, you don't want to finally pass your first evaluation or actually build up to finally requesting a payout and you're using some unreputable firm that you bought just because it was cheap, but they're not going to end up paying you out because you breached some sort of rule. I mean, there's so many firms that just have very sketchy rules and they're not very transparent. Top Step's been around for like 12 or 15 years, something crazy like that. And then Lucid's been around for a few years, but they pay out so fast and their reputation is one of the best in the industry. So pick one of these two, doesn't matter which one. And now now we're going to get into the two options that I use to pass evaluations. All right, so now we have the two options that I use to pass evaluations, okay? Again, it doesn't matter which firm that you choose because they're both very similar. So now when it comes to trading prop firms, it's so important to have a high win rate and a low risk to reward. It is possible to pass these evaluations with lower win rates and higher risk to reward, but that's going to determine which path you choose here. We have two different options. We have the aggressive approach and the one that you take your time and it's a little bit less risk heavy. I'm going to break down both of these in just a second. Personally, I trade continuations with displacement, and that gives me about a 70 to 75% win rate. And the reason why this is so important and why you always hear a lot of traders saying that when you trade prop firms, it's very important to have a high win rate and a low risk to reward is because you have less variance in your system. You're going to have way less fluctuations in your P&L because it's more consistent over a long period of time, right? If you have a 30% win rate with a higher risk to reward, like a 2-to-1, 3-to-1 risk to reward, you might have 3 losing days and then 1 or 2 days that have a big spike in your P&L, right? Because you've taken a few losses. And then when you do win, you win bigger than those losses. But when you have accumulated drawdown without much consistency and higher variance, that's when you could potentially blow your account. So having a high win rate is very important. Now, if you're looking for a complete trading system that allows you to pass evaluations quickly because of the high win rate and get payouts, I have my complete displacement model PDF here, and it just shows you everything you need from finding the draw and liquidity to the actual entry model itself. I'm not going to go into this. I have lots of other videos on my YouTube channel, but if you are looking for a complete system, this is completely free. You can get it in the link in the description below. Basically, my complete system is find a high quality draw and liquidity. I wait for some sort of retracement with displacement confirming that price is going to continue in that direction. And then I enter with my stop above the high and then targeting that draw and liquidity. That's as simple as it gets. And that's my full model. Again, you can get that in the link in the description below. But if you already have a trading strategy with a higher win rate, then just continue to trade that. All right, so the very first option that I'm going to go over to pass an evaluation is the one that takes a little bit more time, but is going to be a little bit less risky. And it's best for people that are first starting to trade and they have not passed an evaluation or gotten a payout before. So what you're going to do exactly is you're going to get a 50K account and you're going to risk between 12.5% and 25% of your total drawdown. So again, remember, for a 50K account, you have $2,000 of drawdown. So you're going to risk between $250 and $500 per trade. This means that if you risk 25%, so 500, you have to win 6 trades in order to hit that $3,000 profit target. And it gives you 4 trades before blowing the account. So 4 times 500 is $2,000 of drawdown. Or if you risk 250, you get 8 trades before blowing that account. So this is very good for new traders that are still learning and have not passed an evaluation yet, because it allows you to build trust in your system without risking too heavy and not allowing that statistic to play out. But at the same time, you're still risking enough to where it doesn't take forever to pass the evaluation. Some people are literally risking like $100 to $150, and it's just gonna take way too long to pass that evaluation. Now, when you're first learning, it's okay to take it slow. I've heard stories of people that have taken like 6 months to 1 year on one evaluation, but then they trade it for that long and then blow it at the end because they've been trading it for such a long period of time and they get impatient, they crash out, and then end up blowing that account. You want to risk moderately heavy, but not too heavy to where you're not allowing that statistic to play out. Now, this is the option that I used to pass my first evaluation. I took my time with it, risked about $500 per trade, targeting just 1-to-1, and then built up those 6 trades. Again, it's not going to probably be 6 trades in a row, but having a high win rate, it should take about 2 weeks or so, and then you'll pass the evaluation. Now, the second option is going to be the aggressive option. Now, I have this split into 2 different ways that you can do it. And the first one, and this is my favorite one, is risking 50% of the drawdown, which is $1,000 on a 50K account, in order to make $1,500. So that's going to be risking 1 to make 1.5 R. One of the most important things that you have to understand for this is you have to wait for a setup that you're 100% confident in, because you only need 2 trades to pass. There's no reason why you should be rushing it and trying to push it on a trade that is an A+ and part of your model just to pass it quick. Because if you wait for 2 A+ setups, which are definitely going to come throughout the week, then you just risk heavy on those, pass the evaluation in 2 trades, and you're done. Now, psychologically, this is a very good method to use, and I recommend it actually for two different types of people. If you've already taken a payout and you're confident in your system, then this is the fastest way that you can use to pass an evaluation. You want to shorten the distance between eval jail and your payouts. You don't want to be trading evals for months and months and then finally get funded and then you've just wasted all that time, right? If you're confident in your system already, risk heavy, pass these fast. But I also recommend it for a second type of person. If you've been trying to pass evaluations for a long time and you use the first option, you build it up, maybe you build it up to a $2,000 balance, and then you have that day that you crash out and you blow the account, and you've done that multiple times over and over again, then I would recommend this option. Because what this does psychologically without you even realizing is it forces you to take high quality setups, because you're going to know in the back of your head that you only have 2 trades because you're risking $1,000 per trade in order to pass, that you're not going to even want to risk it on a low quality setup. That's one of the issues with using the slower method and risking a smaller amount. You're like, oh, it's only 250. If I lose it, I still have 8 trades. So I'm okay risking it on a trade that isn't high quality. And that's a mistake, and that's a trap that a lot of people fall into. And you could break out of that by risking heavier and passing it quicker. So now the second option that I like to use as well, which is the most aggressive option, is risking 100% of the drawdown on a 50K account in order to make 1,500. So you're risking 2,000 to make 1,500, which I know is negative risk to reward, but you have to understand the lower risk to reward that you have, the higher win rate you should have, right? Because you're not expecting the market to move as many points, right? You're risking it on an A+ setup, and you only want it to move a small portion of the move. So again, you have to be extremely patient, wait for the highest quality setups, and you're going to be risking the $2,000 of drawdown to make 1,500 on 2 trades, and that'll hit the $3,000 profit target. So this is just a little note that I made. So you always want to check what the max amount of contracts that you can use per trade for the firm. That's why I mentioned it earlier, and it's going to depend on which option you choose. So Lucid allows you to use 4 minis on NQ, and Top Step allows you to use 5, I believe. And the reason why this matters is because if you're trading like Asia session, because the volatility and the range is smaller, it's going to require you to use more contracts in order to risk the $2,000 of drawdown. So I've had it where my stop loss requires me to use like 6 minis or something like that in order to risk the 2,000, and all I can use is 4 because that's the most amount of contracts you can use. So that's the only time it's going to be an issue. But most of the time if you're trading like New York AM or New York PM, there's enough volatility where the 4 or 5 contracts is going to be more than enough, and you don't have to worry about that. So now once you've passed your evaluation, right, you've picked one of these setups depending on the type of person that you are and the position that you're in. Again, the take your time approach. If you're new to trading, you've never passed an evaluation, you've never gotten a payout, and you don't want to be buying more evaluations, and you really just want to take your time to build confidence in your system, then do this. But if you, again, have been trading for a while, you've been close to passing evaluations, crashed out, blown your accounts, I highly recommend giving this aggressive approach a try, because it's going to allow you to pass it very quickly. And if you have a high win rate, there's no reason why you can't catch 2 winning trades in a row. And it's one of the things that really did change my trading, because once you do become funded, you can risk a little bit lighter and you can really just allow your system to play out. But this will give you the confidence that you have a proof of concept. Of course, once you pass your evaluations, you're going to get one of these certificates. These are a few from a while back. So now once you're funded, again, I've got 2 separate approaches that I use in order to get payouts, okay? And I'm going to go over them right now. They're both actually exactly the same as the eval ones, but just utilized in the funded stage with a few different tweaks. Again, we'll start with the take your time approach. So this is the exact way that I got my first payout through Top Step, and that was right here. Again, only $264, and I'm going to go over why. This is what I did to get my first payout. So you risk, again, 12.5% to 25% of your drawdown. So that gives you 4 to 8 trades before blowing your account. Again, very similar to the eval stage, risking $250 to $500. And your goal is to just get the 5 winning days to request the minimum payout. So you have to understand that your very first payout you should request whenever it is available. This is because you want to create that proof of concept, so you know that next time that you go through the evaluation stage and get funded, you have gotten a payout before. You know how to do it, and you've built the confidence to be able to request a payout, and then you can build up bigger balances and request bigger payouts, right? So your goal is, again, to build up the 5 winning days. I personally risk $250 per trade, And what's so nice about TopStep is that they have a smaller minimum request. It's only $125, which means that basically no matter what balance that you have at the end of getting those 5 winning days, as long as it's above $250, because you can request 50% of that balance, then you can take a payout. With Lucid, your account has to be at $1,000 and you can request 50% for the minimum payout. So that's one of the reasons why I like TopStep a little bit better for your very first payout, because it's a little bit easier to get. And that's the way that I did. But again, both firms are very good and work for this approach. So guys, it's very simple. Like, just follow this framework. If you have a high win rate system, then this is going to work for you. And then last but not least, we have the aggressive approach for the funded stage. So this is best if you've gotten a payout before, but also can help traders that are struggling to get a payout once they are funded. Again, just like that eval stage, if you've built up account balances and then blown them a day or 2 days before getting a payout, like you just needed 1 or 2 more winning days and you crashed out because you've been trading that account for so long with smaller risk, then this is a very good approach. You risk heavy 25 to 50%, so $500 to even $1,000 on a 50K account. And you are extremely patient and waiting for those high quality setups. Again, just like I said in the eval stage, your mind is gonna automatically tell you that you have to wait for those high quality setups, because you're gonna be like, okay, I'm risking $500 or $1,000, half of the drawdown on this account, and I don't wanna waste it on a bad trade. And it's one of the reasons why it forces you to follow your system and why it works for so many people to get more payouts and to even get their first payout if they've been struggling for a while with really taking their time and risking very small amounts. This is something that I want you guys to really think about. If you're risking 25% of your drawdown, so $500 on a 50K account, you're really only risking $21 of your actual money on that trade. And the reason for that is because you paid $85 for that evaluation, you passed it, and now 25% of $85 is only $21. So you got to understand, even if you are risking heavy, the actual monetary amount that you'd be losing if you did lose the trade is only $21. And let's just say that you blew one evaluation and then passed it on the second time. That means that it would go from 21 to double that. So, right, it'd be $40 per trade. And the reason why this is so important to understand is because you're risking such a small amount for the potential to make a max payout of $2,000, right? Like, if you're only risking $21 of your actual money per trade, that's the loss that you could incur, up to $85, which is blowing the entire account, of course, with the potential of making $2,000 for the max payout, right? So prop firms are an ROI game, and you want to take advantage of this using a proven system. Again, we're not just taking random setups and risking heavy. It's risking heavy on a setup that you are confident in and you have conviction in because you have collected data with a high win rate. So basically how my journey went was I started out basically with this and slowly transitioned more into the aggressive approach when I wanted to see bigger payouts, and I became more and more confident in my system, and that's the way that I recommend you do it for most people. Again, there are a few scenarios where I'd recommend people jump right to the aggressive approach. If you've been trading for a while, you're confident in your system, but you have those days where after building up your account for a long time, you just crash out and blow it, all that work gone. I recommend giving this aggressive approach a try and see how that works for you. Again, I'm not affiliated with either of these firms. I know a lot of people say risk very heavy because they want you to use their affiliate code, but this is something that has actually worked for me, and you can give it a try for yourself, and I guarantee you it is going to help your trading. So that is going to be everything for me today. So that's exactly how to pass prop firm evaluations fast and get payouts quickly. It is a proven framework that I've used many times over and over again. If you want to join my free Discord, the link is in the description below. Again, you can get my full displacement model PDF in there. There's tons of other education, and it's just a cool community to be a part of. So join that if you haven't already. The link is in the description below. But with that being said, we'll see you guys in the next video.